Hi, this is Ray Kerlick from the law firm of Wadler, Perches, Hundl, and Kerlick, serving all of the western part of Fort Bend County, Wharton County, Matagorda County, Jackson County, Colorado County, and all places in between. We like to pride ourselves on being pretty technology forward, at least for a law firm, and so we regularly review our systems and our software to make sure that we're pretty close to as up to date as we can get. In that regard, recently we attended the ABA Legal Tech Show in Chicago for a 2.5-day event to take a look at all the new products out there, some of the existing products, to determine if we're serving our clients in the best way through technology. The great part about using up-to-date technology is it allows us to provide services to our clients in a faster and, frankly, oftentimes cheaper way. So we do spend a fair amount of our time on this. In the course of that conference, we kind of became acquainted with a term called a legal tech stack. And tech stack is essentially just a way of describing all the different types of hardware and software that a law firm uses in providing the various services that are out there. So part of this video is to tell you a little bit about some of the things we do, but also for other law firms that might have an interest, we certainly issue this challenge to anyone who watches this video. Please let us know what kind of technology and software you guys are using, and we'll be happy to collaborate and discuss some of the ideas that we have discovered. Important to this process is having what most people in this industry call workflows. And so we have spent many man hours putting together handwritten and then typed out workflows for various types of cases, for intake, different things like that, so that we kind of have a blueprint for any type of case or any type of call that we get in, for the most part. And that's certainly the idea. So part of this tech stack process is to kind of make sure that you've got a workflow system in place, which we do. So my analysis of our tech stack is going to be along the lines of our workflow. So again, we talked about what a legal tech stack is. In this case, we are dealing with, or I am dealing with, a tech stack that relates to what I will call a mid-sized firm. We are typically between an 8 and 10 lawyer firm, which probably by ABA standards means we're still small, but by legal tech standards means we're actually pretty big. In the legal tech field, what we found is anything over 2 or 3 lawyers really requires different systems than a solo practitioner. And so that is a constraint that we have in terms of what tech we can use. The other caveat or category that we're working with is that we are a full service firm. Unlike a lot of very tech savvy firms, we don't have one practice area. We're a small town practice, and so we do a lot of different things. Most importantly, we bill for those things in lots of different ways. So sometimes those cases are billed by the hour. Some cases are billed on a flat fee, meaning just a one-time payment. And other cases are billed as a contingency, and that means that we are not paid unless we have a successful outcome at the end. And then we even have some cases in which it's a mix of 1 or 2 or all 3 of those things. That makes it a challenge when it comes to a lot of the software out there, in that it requires lots of different kinds of intake forms and lots of different kinds of file setups. So the way we manage our cases and our time definitely changes depending on what type of case it is. The next slide is dealing with hardware. So hardware is something that everybody knows about. We have not spent as much time on hardware recently because we kind of have to go through that process on a pretty much an annual basis. But the important factors are important things that most every tech firm would, tech savvy firm would need, would be a VoIP system, voice over internet protocol phone system. We actually combine that with a hardwire system so that we kind of have functionality at all times. But the VoIP system allows call tracking and some other things, call forwarding. We have multiple offices. That allows us to actually route the calls through the multiple offices. Without it, it would be difficult, if not impossible. We have in-house servers at our firm. So we have what I would call legacy servers for emails, for documents, and then backup servers for everything we do. But we have also migrated quite a few of our data to the cloud. That typically is more backup than anything. Certainly there's storage for old emails and things like that that ends up in the cloud. We also obviously have desktops for everyone. We have scanners, high-speed scanners that we use, and we try to have as many of those as we can, with the idea of trying to avoid paper as much as we can. And what we have found is the use of high-speed scanners really eliminates the need for copy machines. And so we have used less and less copy machine as we go. And finally, you know, the equipment related to not only making videos like this, but also video conferencing. So all of our desktops have video cameras for use in Zoom conferencing and video conferencing, all of which include a built-in microphone, but there's also some separate microphones that we use as well. So that's the hardware. To kind of go through our workflow chart with regard to call management. We have an after-hours receptionist that we use through Lex Receptionist, although we're reviewing our options right now. We also have a full-time receptionist that answers the phone during the day. We are also working on or considering using Call Roll, which is a VoIP call management and monitoring system that would allow us to basically monitor calls and intake and be able to figure out when those calls turn into cases. Again, most of the systems that are going to involve call management are going to require voice over internet protocol or VoIP. Texting. So we are one of very few firms that actually uses texting to contact clients to notify them of upcoming calendar events, but also just initial intake forms and things like that. For that, we currently use ZipWhip. However, ZipWhip has been purchased by another company called Twilio, so we're actually in the process of reviewing the texting options. I will say most of the software management software for management softwares are now finally bringing texting up to speed, and so I suspect most of them will have that capability by the end of the year. For client intake, we use a couple of different things, and we're kind of patchworking a lot of this stuff together. Our overall practice management software is Zola Suite, and while we are happy with Zola Suite, it cannot do everything. In our experience, and in reviewing this for the last many years and going to lots of conferences, I think what most people would tell you is there's not one size fits all software out there. You're just not going to find that. So we use Zola Suite for some of our intake, client intake. We've also created a series of intake forms that we use with the initial calls and prior to the initial appointment that we have created through Documate, which is a document creation system. Those allow the clients through a separate client portal that we'll talk about in a minute, can actually fill out and send back to us confidentially. We do have various web forms that we do use via Zola Suite, including some initial, again, disclaimers and things like that we request be paid, and also confirming the payments for the initial appointments. Finally, chatbot is something that we became excited about at the conference last week, and is definitely higher on our list of things that we need to add in terms of client intake. There's a number of different providers for chatbots. These would basically reside on your website and help you have intake. Likewise, there is a Zola Suite form on our website that is basically an intake form, provides drop downs for the type of case, contact information, that kind of stuff. Lead management. We use Zola Suite for our lead management, and lead management is effectively just in that time frame between the initial contact or call, the reply, the submission of intake forms, setting up of the appointment, and then the initial appointment until such time as that person or lead turns into a client, that is to say signs an attorney fee contract. That would be called lead management, and we use Zola Suite for that. Client marketing. So client marketing kind of technically precedes a lot of this, I suppose, but we do use client marketing through MailChimp. We also try to use newsletters, videos, Facebook posts and things like that for client marketing. Technically, that is, I think, called drip marketing, where you basically kind of gradually put out targeted client newsletters and client contacts related to specific items that you think those clients have an interest in. That certainly requires client contact management. And so we use both ZolaSuite and Outlook for our contact management. We have a lot of legacy contacts that are in our Outlook because our firm has been around for a while and we have many lawyers. So the ZolaSuite contacts is one place that we have that. Outlook would be the other. Again, typically that's also how we're handling conflict management. So contacts is also a place where you would be dealing with conflicts. Client portal, we talked about that earlier. Client portal is effectively just a link that you would send to your clients either via text or email that opens up a form that can be filled out, basically a communication form that can be filled out. Again, we have used Documate to allow us to customize a lot of paper forms that we used to have, and it's really as simple as that. We send them to them and they create the fillable form. We create a link for that. We send it to the client and ask them to fill it out, and it returns to us. And we can use that to do any number of things, from scheduling the appointment to actually creating some certain documents, which we'll talk about in a minute. We also use ZolaSuite. They do have a client portal. We have not used that as much, frankly, because it requires quite a bit of customization. I'm not sure that there's a better system for that, other than doing some custom things. And I say that based on our experience, which is having a quote-unquote client portal where they can upload documents and things like that is only mildly useful. At the end of the day, they can email you the documents, and it's just not that big a deal to have the client portal. Whereas having specific contact or confidential information via client portal is very important, and that also allows them to be in charge of spelling things, getting the addresses right, things like that. Those small mistakes that are easy to make. Contacts, we talked about. We use ZolaSuite and Outlook. Oops, sorry, I'm going the wrong direction. Video conferencing and creation. We use Zoom, much like everyone else on the planet seems to use, but we certainly are considering several other options for video creation and video conferencing. We've heard a lot about Loom. We've heard a lot about, and certainly we have used some of the Microsoft products, Microsoft Teams, and some of those other things like that, but we use Zoom pretty much to the exclusion of all other video conferencing. We are able to use that to do any number of things, from initial consultations to will signings, client meetings, depositions, all of those things. So video conferencing is an ongoing part of what our practice is going to be moving forward. Again, we all need to probably spend some time on better technology and better hardware for the video conferencing and video creation. Electronic signature, we use DocuSign. We are aware that ZolaSuite does have an electronic signature function. We do not currently use it, but we're considering where we can use it. Again, this is important for client attorney fee contracts and things like that. There are a number of different options for electronic signature. Email, we use ZolaSuite along with Microsoft Office 365 Outlook. Outlook does have a ZolaSuite integration or plugin that we do use. I will tell you, any outside system that sits on top of Outlook will eventually cause Outlook to have a breakdown and kick you off. So that's something that you'll just have to deal with. The reality is Microsoft Outlook, they have been doing email for almost 50 years now, 40 years now. They do it way better than everybody else. There is no other system that we've tried out or used that has a email functionality that's anywhere near as good as Microsoft Outlook. But the upside of using a document or a firm management software email, for most of them, you can bill directly from the email, which is great. You can also manage those emails by matter. So basically, you're going to have email management built in whenever you use a system or an integration system with Outlook, and that's incredibly helpful. For our calendar, we also use Zola Suite. It, again, is frankly not as good as Office 365 Outlook. In our old system, before we used Zola, we had color-coded entries for all of the attorneys, paralegals, and anybody else. Everything was on the same shared calendar. We have been able to work with Zola Suite to get that same functionality on Zola. It lacks some of the colors, but it has some of the colors. It's, again, allows you to potentially bill directly from the calendar, which is very good. But again, the frank truth is it is slower and not quite as slick as Outlook. Document creation. So this is complicated, and there's a lot of people that have a lot of different concepts about this. For us, we use Microsoft Word, as do I think most lawyers. We also just use Windows, and so we have a shared server, I mentioned that earlier, an in-house server on which we store all of our legacy documents. They are grouped by matter and client, and we can search anything that's on our servers. So we don't use a document management system, we just use document creation. We also use Zola Suite a little bit for some of the document creation, some of the initial things that get created in emails and things like that. We used a Westlaw or West product called Texas ProDoc for most of our document creation. I think there's a lot of lawyers that use that in Texas. And then we have spent a fair amount of time, not me personally, but my partner, on creating some of our own custom forms, and such as wills, estate planning, those types of forms using Documate. And they have been very accommodating in helping us with that. Document management, as I said, for initial documents and email management, we use Zola Suite. So things that the client uploads are being held in Zola Suite. Everything else is just Microsoft Office 10, basically just using the in-house server. Task management, we use Zola Suite. This was pretty much the big selling point for us with regard to Zola Suite, was the ability to create tasks with calendar entries, tie them to matters, and also tie them to the person expected to do them with reminders, with updates on the status, with the ability to respond to the people on that matter about what's happening with regard to those tasks. It kind of goes hand in hand with matter management. So matter management, we use Zola Suite certainly for the newer and more flat fee cases that we have. So things that are not going to be huge. We will probably use mainly Zola Suite for those in terms of matter management. That will allow us to see all the emails, initial intake forms, documents, to a limited extent, communications, billing, calendar entries, all that stuff related to that matter in one place, and Zola Suite is very good for that. But we do also use, again, just our in-house servers, Microsoft Windows 10. We have network folders for each matter and each client, so we do store things there too. Timekeeping and billing, we use Zola Suite. It definitely is an upgrade from time slips, which we used in the past. Certainly has timers, also has the ability, as I said, to time directly from email or from calendar entries, and then just has the regular old, time entry function that you're probably familiar with. Online payment system, we use LawPay. LawPay gives us probably the best rate that we can get. It's somewhat customizable to the legal field, in that there are specific invoices that can be sent by LawPay and paid through LawPay. And since our billing system, Zola Suite, syncs with LawPay, we're able to actually receive those payments into Zola and reflect those, and also send, frankly, invoices out, and LawPay will recognize those invoices and pay them. for accounting. And this is something that what I found, at least at the tech show, was that it seems as if legal accounting is something that's kind of an afterthought for most firms, certainly for the software industry. I find that surprising, frankly, since that is how we make our living. I feel like Zillow Suite probably has the strongest of the firm management accounting systems. It is pretty much a like-for-like replacement of QuickBooks, and it provides for easy ability to take escrow payments, which we should all be doing, for retainers, and transfer those retainer or those escrow balances over to the operating account immediately upon the electronic bill going out. It's saved us a lot of time and effort, and frankly allows us to be more consistent with what the obligations probably are under the law. We still do use QuickBooks for non-firm revenue, so things outside of the legal accounting situation, we still do use QuickBooks, and there's still some kind of legacy things out there that are in QuickBooks because of the old system through time slips. So that is our legal tech stack. Please get back with me, and love to hear anybody who has questions about that, or send us your legal tech stack. We'd love to compare notes. Thanks.